3 spine-chilling, true neighbor horror stories revealed secrets of the cursed and sinister. In the quaint suburb of Maplewood, where laughter danced through sunlit yards and flowers bloomed vibrant, a darker secret lay just beneath the surface, a chilling truth that sent shivers down the spine of anyone brave enough to look too closely. Claire, a devoted single mother, was about to stumble upon the spine-tingling horrors lurking in her seemingly perfect neighborhood. As shadows lengthened one fateful evening, Claire's heart raced. It was past midnight, and Sam hadn't returned from his shift at the diner. Clutching her phone, sweat trickled down her back. She recalled the unsettling whispers of her neighbors gossiping about dark happenings. A delivery misdelivered, odd marks etching themselves into the trees like sinister signatures from a hidden world. She could feel the weight of that dread looming over her. The knock echoed like thunder against her wooden door, sending her pulse skyrocketing. Officer Harris stood there, his face a mask of neutrality that offered no comfort. "Have you seen him?" Claire's voice trembled, desperation clawing at her. He shifted, muttering about kids these days, infuriatingly dismissive of her fears. Claire felt rage boil up. She knew Sam. He would never abandon her like this. The air charged with tension as she watched him walk away, shadows swallowing him. Days crept by, turning into a nightmare as strange symbols multiplied around their home. On the porch, painted in the dirt, and even on the mailbox. Each new mark felt like a chilling omen laced with an ancient curse, awakening memories of tales told by her grandmother about a witch who had cursed the neighborhood. Claire's gut twisted, fear building like a storm. What if the curse was real? What if something had snatched her son away? In that suffocating dread, Claire could feel someone watching her. It was Mr. Thompson, his presence thick like fog, his dark eyes like bottomless pits every time they met. Something wasn't right about him. One afternoon, driven by a mixture of fear and courage, she heard strange noises emanating from his backyard. Clenching her fists, she knew she had to uncover the truth. As she stepped toward that dimly lit area, her heart drummed in her chest, a primal warning resonating deep within. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Taking a shaky breath, she gripped the handle and pushed the door open into darkness. Instantly, the air grew colder, like frost creeping beneath her skin. Vision, a graveyard of forgotten things. Flickering candlelight revealed a door slightly ajar, begging to be opened. The tension escalated as she felt something lurking behind her, a chill, whispering warning she couldn't ignore. Then a scream tore through the silence, and her heart stopped. It was Sam's voice, wild with fear. Panic surged through her veins. Had her investigation awakened something sinister? What secret lay hidden in this shrouded space? She was standing at the precipice of a dark revelation, her pulse pounding in tandem with echoes of a grim truth. With Sam's cry still ringing in her ears, Claire hovered at the edge of discovery. Was it too late to turn back? The shadows seemed to ripple with a life of their own, inching closer as she made her choice. Every second could mean the difference between saving her son and unleashing the true terror buried within their once peaceful neighborhood. Claire's breath hitched as she pressed forward, the grasp of dread constricting her throat. The door's creaking hinge sounded like a ghostly wail, but she fought against the instinct to bolt. Each step inside felt like she was crossing an invisible barrier into another world, one where shadows danced and whispered secrets. The air was thick with the aroma of burnt sage and something rotten, a scent that made her stomach churn. The flicker of candlelight revealed walls plastered with grotesque drawings. Animals twisted into unnatural forms, faces reflected in eternal screams. Claire's hands trembled as she reached for a drawing, an intricate symbol that matched the ones outside her home. It was like staring into the heart of her neighbor's madness. Could this have something to do with Sam's disappearance? Would the answers lie here, in this twisted shrine? Suddenly, she heard it again, her son's voice, calling out, distant yet clear. "Mom!" The desperation mingled with terror. Her heart raced as she fought against the icy fingers of despair wrapping around her chest. "Sam!" she shouted into the void, her voice no more than a whisper against the oppressive silence. "Mom!" The echoing cry pulled at her like a lifeline, but it felt as if it was drifting further away. Desperation surged within her, fueling her resolve. Mustering her courage, she followed the sound, glancing left and right, haunted by the drawings that seemed to watch her every move. Pushing deeper into the darkness, she stumbled upon a stairway leading down, its steps warped and slick. What lay at the bottom? A chill crawled up her spine, but she couldn't let fear rule her. "I'm coming, Sam." Each word grounded her, knocking against the overwhelming dread, transforming into something dangerous yet necessary. The stairs spiraled down into an abyss where air thickened with damp earth and mildew. The light from her phone fought valiantly against the darkness, revealing damp stone walls that seemed to pulse. As she descended, she noticed a faint glow ahead, a flickering light at the end of a corridor. Relief washed over her, but as she neared the end, her heart dropped. The light flickered in a way that felt electric and wrong. Pushing through an archway, she found herself in a chamber that felt alive, filled with unearthly artifacts, dozens of candles surrounding a bowl filled with a dark, liquid substance. The smell of iron flooded her senses. And there, huddled in the corner, sat Sam, trembling and wide-eyed as the shadows around him danced hungrily. He was not alone. Mr. Thompson loomed over him, features hidden in the dark, whispering something incomprehensible in a voice that sounded like nails on a chalkboard. The sinister man suddenly turned, locking eyes with Claire. "Welcome, Claire," he hissed, his grin stretching wider than humanly possible. Claire could feel the world shift on its axis. Her heart raced, the seconds stretching out as time seemed to warp around her. How could she fight this darkness? "Stay back!" she shouted, desperate, unsure of her next move. But before she could think, the shadows surged behind Thompson, snaking towards Sam. The room erupted with a cacophony of whispers, taunting her sanity. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, Claire clutched the edge of the doorway, eyes fixed on her son. "I will save you!" she screamed, charging forward into the unknown. What price would she have to pay to reclaim Sam from this twisted nightmare? Stepping into the darkness, the answer awaited her, and it was far from what she expected. Claire's heart thundered in her chest as she lunged toward the darkness. Every ounce of bravery she had poured into that solitary shout, resonating with an echo of defiance. The shadows lurched, twisting and contorting like the sinful entities they seemed to embody. "Sam!" Her eyes flickered around the chamber, desperate to break through the fog of dread suffocating her. Mr. Thompson's grin deepened, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp, too many. He sprang toward her, a dark silhouette full of intentions that twisted like the shadows around them. "You think you can just take him?" His voice dripped with malice, echoing in her mind as if amplified by the terror-laden walls. Instinctively, Claire stepped back, but the shadows seemed to sway, pulling at her feet like a vortex hungry for another soul. Panic surged, radiating down her spine. "Leave him alone!" she cried, her voice trembling, less a command and more a plea. "Mom, help!" Sam's voice shattered her moment of hesitation. His wide, frightened eyes, dimly illuminated by the flickering candles, drew her forward. She took a bold step, breaking through the barrier of her own fear. But with every step she took, the shadows recoiled, whispering her name in a chorus of sinister lullabies. "What do you seek? Your son? Or perhaps your demise?" Thompson's voice slithered through the air, a taunting reminder of her powerlessness. The liquid in the bowl bubbled ominously, releasing whiffs of something foul, something ancient. She focused on Sam, the panic reflected in his gaze growing more intense with each heartbeat. "I'm here, Sam!" Claire's voice rose above the chilling murmurs as she drew closer, the shadows writhing like living beings. Just as she reached for him, Thompson moved with unnatural speed, blocking her path. "The cost is steep, Claire. Are you willing to pay?" His laughter filled the room, a cold cacophony that sent shivers crawling beneath her skin. "What do you want from me?" she shouted, desperation clawing at her words. "To witness the rebirth of power, your power." He gestured to the curious artifacts around them, each gleaming with an unholy light. "Make a sacrifice, and all you have ever loved will survive. But refuse, and your son will be lost forever." Claire's mind raced. Sacrifice? She thought of the tales she had heard, twisted rituals, dark bargains that always demanded a price, a piece of one's soul. Every fiber of her being screamed against the choice, but Sam was there, trembling and afraid. Thompson leaned closer, eyes glowing with an unnatural hunger. "You have one chance, Claire. One chance to summon a power that could save him." The shadows receded slightly, their whispering tones shifting, hinting at something more tempting, seducing her with the promise of hope. Claire's instincts warred within her. Could she really trust this man? The temptation to save her son flooded her thoughts, drowning out the remnants of caution. With clenched fists, she steadied her breath. "What do I have to do?" Thompson's grin widened, revealing a malevolence that stirred dread deep within her. "That, dear Claire, is where the true horror begins." The chamber darkened, shadows spinning. What did he mean? What lay ahead beyond this crossroads of terror? She stepped closer to the swirling shadows, heart racing, feeling the weight of unspeakable decisions looming over them. "Mom, please," Sam cried out again, and that piercing plea dissolved her hesitations. Every choice exacted a price, but would she dare to grab the power lurking within the darkness? As Claire found herself standing at the edge of despair and hope, the ground beneath her seemed to pulse with intent. The world narrowed, closing in. Time felt suspended, waiting for her answer. The shadows thickened, wrapping around Claire like a sinister cloak. The very air felt electric. She was teetering on a precipice, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "What do I have to do?"
she repeated, each syllable dripping with raw desperation. Thompson's grin glinted in the dim light, a predator relishing its prey. "You must give me that which you hold most dear," he hissed, his voice oozing with satisfaction. "A piece of your love or your fear. What will it be, Claire?" "Sam!" The name erupted from her lips, a bare instinct, as if calling out could pull her son back from the grasp of darkness. It was the only truth she could cling to. "Love is a powerful force," he continued, his malicious glee palpable. "But fear makes you strong. Either way, you'll need to choose." His eyes glimmered with a horrid anticipation. The shadows crept closer, dark tendrils nudging against her.
Ankles urging her to take a step closer to Thompson. Each minute, second felt like an hour as Claire wrestled with the enormity of what lay before her. Sam's frightened face burned in her mind, sweaty and tear-streaked, a reflection of pure terror. She shook her head, desperate to dislodge the image. "No, I won't do it!" Defiance rippled through her, igniting her courage. But as if the shadows sensed her resistance, they constricted, applying pressure that made her breath hitch. The more she fought, the tighter they wrapped around her, like cords of a noose. "Then you condemn him!" The words were like ice, slicing through her resolve. "Every moment you delay, he fades further. The bond you share is fragile, Claire. Strengthen it through sacrifice, or lose him to despair." A sickening churn rolled in her stomach. The truth was ugly. He was right. Every fiber in her being screamed against the idea of fracture. Dark images of her son slipping away, panicked and alone, rattled her mind, generating dread she couldn't comprehend. Enough! The shadows writhed and morphed, forming grotesque shapes that echoed her anguish. Sam's cries pierced through the chaos as they twisted together, binding her decision tighter. She wanted to break free but couldn't. They threatened to drag her into the abyss, one choice at a time. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "You could help us." Thompson chuckled. His laughter sent chills down her spine. "This is about power, Claire. The salvation of one comes at the expense of another. Isn't that the law of nature?" His words dripped with sinister glee, winding through the air like smoke. With immense effort, Claire clenched her fists, determination rising within her. "No, I won't let you take him. I'll find another way." But as she stepped back, the shadows recoiled, enraged, their whispers rising in a cacophony of disappointment. "Join us. Embrace the darkness. It will give you the power you crave," they echoed, a seductive symphony of despair. Suddenly, an echoing crack resonated within the chamber, a deep, rumbling sound that signified a rift diving just below the surface of reality. A fissure opened, blacker than night, an ominous reminder that time was slipping away. In that moment, Claire realized her hesitation could solidify their grips forever. "Mom, please." Sam's voice broke through again, muted and trembling, resonating from the depths of the darkness. It was a sobering reminder that every moment rendered her son more vulnerable. A wave of panic surged through her. "What if none of this is real?" she thought. "What if this is all a trap?" Her instinct screamed to run, to save Sam without succumbing to the shadow's demands. But with each second, a sliver of clarity edged through the haze. Strength swelled within her, a mother's love ignited as a force. "I choose love," Claire shouted into the darkness, her voice filled with raw intensity, a steel resolve behind those words. The shadows bristled, faltering momentarily, a tremor echoing through Thompson's calm facade. "What happens when love demands all?" he hissed, almost spitting the words. With that, an unholy rumbling enveloped the chamber, the shadows swirling with renewed fury. As Claire stood her ground, the air grew thick. A horrific truth unfolded. Was love truly worth the price? The fissure widened, and a chilling dread settled in. In the battle between love and fear, which would survive the storm? And as she clutched the moment, a primal scream erupted from somewhere deep within her, a premonition that shook the foundations of her soul. What dark consequences awaited her choice? The shadows convulsed, responding to Claire's declaration with a howl, twisting and thrashing as though physically hurt by the strength of her love. Thompson's face darkened, his grin giving way to rage. He advanced, pulsing with a darkness that radiated like heat from a fire. "You think love will save you?" Thompson snarled, his voice low and thunderous. "Love is a chain, Claire, and now it will bind you." With a desperate heart, Claire fought against the creeping tendrils, feeling them brush and claw at her skin, pulling her closer to the dark chasm. The air grew icy, a biting cold that threatened to seep into her very soul. Every light in the chamber flickered, and for a moment Claire felt a pull toward the fissure, a whisper droning about peace in oblivion. But then she thought of Sam. His innocent laughter, vivid dreams, small hands grasping her tightly. They sparked a fire inside her like sunlight breaking through clouds. "No!" she screamed. The words flew from her mouth with the force of a storm. "You have no claim over me or my love." As she spoke, her voice echoed powerfully, somehow reverberating across the shadows. It was almost as if her defiance broke the spell they held over her, weakening their hold. The shadows jerked back, forming grotesque shapes that momentarily reflected the flicker of light within her heart. "Foolish woman!" Thompson shrieked, his voice morphing into a roar. "Do you think defiance will save him? He is already lost. The darkness feeds on fear, and you stand on the edge of despair." Claire stumbled back and felt that familiar ache in her chest. Was Sam already lost? Would she have to face that reality? It clawed at her mind, vicious and biting. "Sam," she called out, her voice cracking, "I'm coming." A cold gust filled the chamber, carrying a ghastly whisper that sent chills down her spine. "Mom, don't leave me!" The voice echoed through the darkness, a flawed reflection of a child's plea. Fighting against despair, Claire pressed on, determined to bridge the gap that fear and darkness attempted to create. Though the pull of the fissure beckoned her, she stood resolute. Then, like an angel of vengeance, she remembered a warmth. The day she first held Sam, the first cuddle on the couch, the fierce love that bloomed. Her heart surged anew, fueling her voice once more. "More. Sam, my love for you is stronger than any darkness." With that proclamation, light exploded from her core, illuminating the chamber in radiant brilliance, swallowing the shadows whole. The shadowy figures screamed, contorting chaotically, desperate to escape the onslaught of light. Thompson roared, his form flickering like a candle in a storm. The shadows pulled and writhed as they were winched back into the fissure, swallowed by the void from which they'd come. Yet Thompson remained, his silhouette darkening as he glared at Claire. "You may have won the battle, but the war has just begun," he hissed. "With your love comes vulnerability, and love can be twisted into a weapon. You will soon learn." Not waiting for him to finish, Claire focused on the fissure. "I won't allow it!" She lunged toward the rift, chanting her determination as she pressed against the dark force. Then came the blast, a shockwave that swept through the chamber, sending the shadows spiraling into chaos. Brightness consumed everything. But just as she felt herself breaking through, a new shriek pierced the air. Claire's heart sank. "Mom!" A voice echoed again, but this time even more distorted, laced with agony. It was Sam. It was louder and clearer than before, seeping into her chest like ice. She could barely breathe, panic clawing at her throat. What had she done? As the brilliance began to fade, the shadows trembled. And in that fading light, she caught the glimpse of Sam's face, haunted and terrified. "Mom, I'm so scared." The darkness was far from vanquished, and the dread nestled deeper into her gut. The cost of her love was greater than she ever imagined. The shadows weren't gone, merely regrouping, and purposefully they aimed at her weakness. Could she face the depths of her fear? Was love really a weapon in the dark? In the final moments, Claire felt the first crack appear in her resolve, as Thompson's words echoed ominously in her mind once again. What dark corners of her soul would she have to confront next? The answers loomed ever nearer, hanging in the air like a storm on the horizon. The shadows whirled with renewed vigor, their swirling forms now angry spirits, retaliating against the light that had dared touch them. Claire stood firm, clutching the remnants of her hope like a fragile thread in a windstorm. "Sam!" The name burst forth in a desperate plea, but the echoes of dread wrapped around her throat, stifling her power. The brilliance that had erupted from her heart was fading fast, dwindling like a fire desperate for fuel. Shadows snaked around her ankles, gripping her legs with an icy chill that felt like 1,000 fingers pulling her to the very edge of the abyss. "You cannot fight against what is already part of you," Thompson roared, his voice reverberating through the flickering chamber like the ominous tolling of a bell. With trembling hands, Claire reached for the fissure. She could almost feel Sam on the other side, the warm weight of him, his laughter a bright fire in her memory. "I won't let you take him!" she shouted, clenching her fists with determination. But the shadows twisted, morphing into horrific versions of Sam's face, eyes wide with terror, a malevolent mockery of her child. Each image sliced through her heart like a blade, the pain clawing at her resolve. Suddenly, the ground shook beneath her, a low rumble that spread through the chamber like a silent earthquake. The fissure gaped wider, a dark maw hungry for what remained of her light. "You think your love can save him when the shadows are within you?" Thompson taunted, the darkness in him swelling like a grotesque tide. "You are merely a vessel, Claire. Love is not a weapon, it is a parasite, a link that binds you to the very thing you fear." Claire staggered back, her vision blurring as fear gripped her mind like a vice. What if he was right? What if her love was a chain, tightening around her throat, dragging her under? She gasped as visions of Sam entwined with darkness flickered in her imagination. His laughter twisted into screams. His face darkened as shadows swirled around him. "No, no," she breathed, shaking her head as if to dispel the images. "I can break this. I have to." The air grew dense, heavy and suffocating, as a scream echoed from the fissure, rising above the chaos. "Mom!" It was Sam's voice again, though it vibrated with deep anguish. I'm so scared. Please help." Claire lunged forward, her body propelled by sheer instinct. She had to fight, had to push through. Her heart raced, pounding in her chest like a war drum. She would not let fear choke out the love that burned inside her. With one last breath, she plunged toward the fissure, palms outstretched. But as she crossed the threshold, a sudden cold gripped her very heart, and a deafening silence fell over the chamber. Everything stopped. Shadows halted mid-motion. Thompson's sneer froze in place, and she was enveloped in an eerie stillness that foreshadowed a lurking darkness. Then a voice, soft and sinister, crawled into her consciousness, whispering sweetly, "You chose this, Claire. Love may have brought you here, but fear will decide your fate and your son's." What had she stepped into? The fissure crackled with malevolence, and her heart thudded in panic as she felt the grip of shadows ripple around her, closing in like a maw ready to devour. In one last desperate push, she screamed into the depths of the void, "Sam!" But her voice echoed back, warped, twisted. "Sam! Mom!" The calls merged until they became unrecognizable, lost in the cacophony of despair. As she stood on the precipice, battling a rising tide of darkness, questions taunted her relentlessly. Could love truly be a weapon? Would it save Sam, or damn them both? The fissure pulsed ominously as fear fed on uncertainty, and Claire realized she was not just a mother. Fighting for her son, she was a woman standing at the edge of her own darkness. What would thrive when the light finally faded? A gust of wind blew through the chamber, a dire declaration of what was yet to come. Could she truly face the shadows of her soul and win? Or was it already too late for both of them? The silence shattered like glass, an unbearable crack that reverberated in Claire's ears. She stumbled forward, the shadows swirling, their tendrils brushing against her skin, cold and clammy. Panic clawed at her throat. How could silence be so deafening, so ominous? Each heartbeat rang louder than the last, a chaotic drum pounding in a rhythm only she could hear. "Sam!" she cried again, her voice mingling with the dark. The shadows pulsed around her, mocking her desperation, breathing in her fears as they drew closer. "Please, I can't lose you." The shadows flickered and shifted, warping into grotesque shapes that lingered just out of sight. Images danced in and out, glimpses of laughter twisted into agony, of warmth fading into the cold grip of despair. They were reflections of her worst nightmares, threats that stroked her raw nerves and coaxed the dread lying dormant within her. Thompson's voice boomed from the abyss, each word dripping with malice. "You're deep in the depths now, Claire. Do you feel it? The shadows are awakening something in you. They've always been there, feeding on your doubt, your fears. You think your love can save him, but it is the hunger that fuels this place." The ground beneath her wavered, like a thin layer of ice about to crack. Claire fought against the oppressive weight of despair clinging to her skin. If she could just find a way back to Sam, maybe she could pull him from the clutches of this dark void. "Sam!" she breathed again, heart racing. With every ounce of strength left, Claire plunged deeper into the shadows, ignoring the icy fingers that trailed along her spine. They tugged at her, bargaining for her essence, promising her peace if she just let go. Fear flooded her, but a flicker of defiance surged within her. The memory of Sam's bright smile banished the cold. "Mom!" A voice pierced through the shadows, a desperate echo that flooded her with hope. It was softer this time, a thread tying her to the surface of this nightmare. "Hold on, baby, I'm coming." She grasped for the light she carried in her heart, the love that had always been her shield. But as she reached, it flickered like a dying flame, and the shadows seized upon her uncertainty, creeping into every crevice of her soul. "Love binds you to darkness, Claire," Thompson grinned, stepping forward, his features warped by the shuddering shadow. "And now, that bond will lead you to your truth. Are you ready to face it?" His words hissed like serpents, winding through her mind. What truth? A flicker of dread crawled beneath her skin. What was hidden within her that would haunt her now? It was the fear she had buried, wrapped tightly in her desperate hope. "No," she whispered, but her voice trembled. Her conviction was fragmenting against the overwhelming tide of darkness. Images of Sam flashed before her, smiling, innocent, untouched by anguish, each remnant of joy sliced through by the dark shapes surrounding her. Suddenly, the shadows surged, enveloping her, tightening their noose around her heart. All she could feel was the pull of despair. The coldness seeped in, swirling into a cloud of torment. "You will know your true self, the darkness that makes you who you are," Thompson crooned, and the shadows twisted tighter. The fissure pulsed with dread, echoing with the echoes of her son's voice, urging her to defy it. Just beyond the darkness, she could feel Sam's presence, his essence a lifeline dragging her towards something greater than this nightmare. But how to reach him when the shadows were so insistent on dragging her down? With all she had left, Claire shouted into the abyss, heart full of raw, undeniable love. "I will not let you take him." But as her words hung in the air like fragile glass, a deep chuckle rumbled from the depths. "What will you sacrifice for the light, Claire? What will you allow to drown in the shadows?" Chilled to the bone, Claire felt the weight of that question, heavy like a gravestone. Would she pay the price? And as dark whispers coiled around her, one haunting thought gripped her mind. Was she capable of embracing the very darkness that defined her? As the shadows surged and a terrifying void beckoned, she braced herself for the truth that awaited on the other side. But would she be ready for the revelation? Or would the darkness claim her soul before she could reach her son? The shadows tightened around Claire, a suffocating blanket of darkness that threatened to engulf her completely. With a surge of desperation, she summoned every ounce of defiance she had left. "I won't be afraid!" she screamed, her voice reverberating through the haunting void, piercing the thick darkness like a knife. "Fear is the currency here, Claire." Thompson's voice slithered around her, oily and smooth. "And you are the richest in this realm." She gritted her teeth, pulling in a deep breath, the icy air constricting her lungs. The faces of her fears blurred into grotesque forms, twisted and writhing like tortured souls. Specters of doubt and loss danced on the edge of her vision, taunting her with memories that felt more like nightmares. Sam's laughter echoed faintly, a melodic thread woven into the tapestries of despair. "I'm coming, Sam," she yelled again, pushing against the shadows that clawed at her with relentless hunger. Suddenly, a light flared in the distance, a beacon of hope flickering against the oppressive dark. Instinctively, Claire surged toward it, praying it was Sam, or at least a way out of this hell. The light grew brighter, illuminating shapes in the dimness. Children, their faces eerily familiar, echoing her own heartache. Their eyes reflected sorrow, pleading for release from their own shadowy prisons. "Why do you persist?" one child asked, her voice brittle as broken glass. "You cannot save us all." "No," Claire's heart twisted. "I won't leave anyone behind. I can help you. Just hold on." But the shadows pressed harder, wrapping their icy tendrils around her. The chorus of whispers grew louder, drowning her resolve. "What will you sacrifice?" they hissed. "The love you hold so dear for your own survival." Visions of her child flashed. A quiet morning, him chasing butterflies in the garden, his laughter rolling like music. "I'll do anything but lose him," she cried, desperation spilling from her heart. Then the shadows twisted with a maddening glee. "Then you must make a choice," they danced, fangs glistening in the light. "To save him, you must take on the darkness yourself, become a part of it." Claire's heart raced. Did she have it in her? Would accepting the darkness mean betrayal? Would it mean losing herself? Horror surged through her veins, knotting her stomach. No! She shut her eyes tight, as if that could block out the calamity brewing around her. "If I become like you, I'll lose him forever." The world blurred as the shadows faltered for a brief moment. That flicker of defiance ignited something within her, a swirling fire of fury against the encroaching despair. "I'll harness this darkness," she roared into the void, resolve rising like a phoenix. "I will control it." Yet as she channeled her strength, a relentless cold threatened to overwhelm her will. Thompson's laughter bounced around her, mocking her proclamation. "You think you can wield the dark. You will only become it." But then an echo floated from deep within the shadows. That same soft voice she felt earlier, the sound of Sam. "Mom, don't give up." With that, a brief warmth washed over her, pushing back the chill. It wrapped around her heart, and she let it fill her being. "Sam," she whispered, the spark of love incandescent in her chest, "I will find you." The shadows pulsed violently, rage swelling in their whispers. But before Claire could take another step, the ground shuddered beneath her, and she felt herself being pulled into a void deeper than before. The chilling laughter of Thompson pierced through the dark, echoing in her ears. "Prepare to embrace your true self, Claire. It's coming." Then, with one last scream that shattered the silence, she was flung deeper into the abyss. As she plummeted, one ominous thought consumed her. Could the very darkness meant to bind her become the key to saving her son? And what price would she pay for it? She landed hard, a jarring impact against something solid but unseen. Claire gasped, air rushing into her lungs, though it was tainted with a metallic taste, like blood mixing with iron. Her heart pounded wildly, each beat feeling like a countdown to the inevitable. She was disoriented, the darkness still thick, swirling around her like a living thing, hungry for a first bite. "Welcome, Claire," a voice purred, rich and smooth. Thompson emerged from the shadows, his figure shifting, as if the dark itself was his cloak. "Did you really think you could escape? This is where you belong. Let them go." Claire's voice was fierce, buoyed by the warmth she still felt from Sam's call. "Let the children go." Thompson chuckled, the sound ringing sinister in the void. "You'd sacrifice everything for the sake of their freedom? Such misguided heroism. They are already part of this world, just as you will be." The shadows deepened, swirling violently around her, pulling at her limbs, as if eager to drag her into their embrace. Claire shut her eyes, an instinctive reaction to block out the terror clawing at her mind. The voices from before crept back, insidious whispers, becoming a cacophony of despair. "You're too weak. You'll never save them. Join us." "No!" she screamed, choking on her rising panic. "This isn't real. You're lying." But doubt flickered in the recesses of her mind, as shrill laughter pierced through the storm. Children's giggles, now shrieking and crying, invading her thoughts. "You'll never find us, Claire," they wailed, their voices a haunting reminder that she was losing the battle. Panic surged anew, a tidal wave of fear crashing over her, threatening to drown her. She gritted her teeth, digging her fingernails into her own palms to feel something real, something human. "I won't let you take me. I'll fight." With a sudden flick of her wrist, she summoned the warmth of her love for Sam, pushing it outward like a beacon against the void. The shadows recoiled slightly, and for the first time she saw the flicker of hesitation in Thompson's eyes. "You think mere emotion can combat this?" he snarled, stepping back and gesturing wildly. "Let's see how far that love takes you." An explosion of cold erupted around her, darkness splintering as distorted images formed, swirling into a vortex. Sam's face materialized, his eyes wide and pleading. "Mom, help!" The ground beneath her trembled fiercely, like it was ready to collapse. "Sam!" Claire lunged forward, desperation clawing at her throat. But as she reached for him, the shadows shifted, morphing into a blackened hand that clamped around her wrist, pulling her closer to the churning abyss. "I will claim you," Thompson hissed, his voice reverberating through the darkness. A scream tore itself from her throat as she wrestled against the grip. "No, let him go!" But the shadows remained relentless, seeking to grip her soul, to twist her essence until she bore their mark. The cold was profound, seeping deeper through her skin, the chill settling into her bones, threatening to extinguish her spark. Amidst the struggle, something inside her awakened. "I am not afraid," she shouted, determination igniting within. "I am more than your puppet." The abyss, racked with fury, an echo of rage sending shockwaves that coursed through her. In that moment, as darkness warped around her, she realized there was a choice. Would she remain steadfast in her fight, or would she allow the shadows to define her? Suddenly, the vision of Sam flickered again, this time clearer, more real, as if he was reaching for her across a chasm. "I believe in you, Mom," he called, a lifeline woven with love. Claire clenched her teeth, a newfound power surging inside her. "I will fight for you." As she ripped her wrist from the darkness, a surge of light burst forth, illuminating the landscape of terror. But in the pulse of hope, a chilling laugh echoed behind her. "This isn't over, Claire," Thompson roared, his form wavering in the light. "You think you've won? I will return. You cannot escape forever." The shadows writhed, and with one final push, Claire felt herself being thrust forward, landing in a new realm of uncertainty. What waited in the light? What choices would she have to face next? Claire blinked as the brightness flooded her vision, an uncomfortable intensity chasing away the lingering shadows. She was on the ground, sunlight streaming down, warm and invigorating. The air was clean, loaded with the scent of freshly mowed grass and blooming flowers. It was eerily serene, a stark contrast to the gory darkness she had just emerged from. "Mom!" Sam's voice shattered her shock, pulling her from the clutches of overwhelming relief. She turned quickly, and there he stood, safe, whole, his expression bright with that familiar, innocent joy she fought to protect. He was alive! Sam! With a grip like iron, she yanked him into her arms, holding him tightly, grounding herself in the moment. The warmth of her son filled the void within her. "I was so scared, I thought I lost you." His little hands gripped her shoulders as he looked up, confusion clouding his eyes. "I was calling for you. I thought you wouldn't come." "I will always come for you." Tears spilled down her cheeks, but they were no longer tears of despair. They were tears of celestial relief and pure love. Her heart thundered, filled with triumph over the darkness she had faced. But as she held him, a chill crept back into her bones. The shadows were gone for now, but the promise of Thompson's return loomed like a specter over her joy. We need to go home, now. Together, they dashed toward their house, but the sense of security was fleeting. The curiosity of the neighbors filtered into her mind. Did they sense the battle she had endured? Would they ever understand? Once home, Claire shut the door and locked it with a decisive click. "We're safe," she assured Sam, though the knot tightening in her stomach almost contradicted her words. "I heard bad noises upstairs," he whispered, looking toward the ceiling, eyes wide. "Mom, what if he's still here?" "No," Claire said fiercely, shaking her head, though uncertainty flickered like a candle in her heart. "He's gone. We ensured that." She let go of Sam just enough to kneel and meet his gaze, heart racing. "But I need you to promise me something. No matter what happens, you stay close, okay?" "Okay," he replied, voice small and brave. She could see him trying to be strong, but his fears were a tempest contained behind those bright eyes. Good. The word felt heavy, laden with the understood responsibility Claire now bore. They had escaped, but there was a subtle recognition beneath it all that darkness was an ever-looming threat. Clutching Sam's hand, she moved toward the living room window. Peering outside, she saw their peaceful neighborhood, the laughter of children, the flowers in bloom. Everything still appeared normal, but beneath the surface, shadows still lurked, memories of her recent struggle twisting her thoughts. "Mom?" Sam tugged her shirt, his cherubic face a mask of concern. "What if he comes back? What if they come back?" Embracing him again, panic rose momentarily, but this time a resolute strength anchored her. She could feel the warmth of the love between them, a shield against the darkness threatening to encroach again. "We'll be ready if he does. Together we can face anything, I promise." "But how?" he asked, bewildered. Claire thought of all the horror she had seen, the choices she had made. By understanding our love is our greatest weapon. But underneath that sense of resolve, she knew a part of her had been changed forever. Love would indeed be their weapon, but it wouldn't shield her from the brutal truth. Fear was a parasitic force, feeding off her fears, always ready to gnaw at the heart of any resolve she held. A soft knock echoed through the house. Claire's breath caught, and her heart thudded in her ears. "Stay behind me," she whispered, steel in her voice. She edged toward the door, each step heavy with uncertainty. "Who is it?" she called, attempting to summon calm amidst the storm brewing in her heart. "It's Officer Harris," came a voice, casual at first. "We're checking the neighborhood, looking for some weird symbols. We've had reports of strange activity." Her breath relaxed slightly. "No, it's fine here." There was a pause, thick with tension. "Mom, are you okay?" Sam's small voice broke through. "I'm okay," she reassured him, but the shadows of uncertainty crept back, whispering fears that gripped her heart, a quiet reminder that while the battle had been won, the war against darkness was just beginning. "Let's take it one day at a time," she murmured to herself, closing her eyes. She could never go back to being naive, and she would always look deeper now, always prepared for the darkness that lurked at the edges of their reality, no matter what. Together, they would be the light against the shadows, stronger than the darkness that threatened to reclaim their lives. With a resolute heart, Claire opened the door, stepping boldly into the light, ready to face whatever came next. It was time to reclaim their world, to heal and forge ahead with wisdom born from their pain. The sunset warmed her back as the night began to fall, each ray an echo of hope. They would be all right. If you loved this story, then you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support and not miss any exclusive tales coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let everyone know how much you enjoyed this. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Claire and Sam's journey. What do you think will happen next? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. True fans know the power of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's keep this community strong and ready for what's next.